welcome Pastor David, who's going to speak for us today.
All right. Thank you, Kazaya. All right. Today, can we turn on the projector? Switch that over. Next 2 weeks, we're going to merge with the main sanctuary, and there will be some changes we want to experiment. We want to actually go back to use the earphones for the translation. And the reason is we wanted to actually encourage more and more people, we can actually become a bigger family. We don't really want to, whenever we go there, we interrupt their session with on-stage translation. So we want everybody, I want to encourage you to bring your own earphone if you feel more comfortable with your earphone. And we also want to invest maybe some new apps that we can maybe dial in so you can hear much better translation. And Chuping will be doing the translation. So you will hear much better translation than the Chinese people speaking English. Okay, but all right. So this is my message today, and we are actually tonight, this evening, we are entering into the Feast of Tabernacle. Okay, can you tell your neighbor it's Feast of Tabernacle? All right, and there are many different ways to say that. There's also Feast of Booth, or it's a Booth of Sukkot. Okay, Sukkot, it's like a tent, right? When you go camping, you have a tent, right? And now in Israel, if you go to Israel today, you're going to see a lot of things like this. I know who's going to Israel. Yeah, Michelle and Eric, they're going, right? But by the time you go there, they already teared it down. Okay, because they will be building it, and these are the Sukkot. This is in a city, and every house they would like to build, and even if there is just a on the second floor, they still extend out of their house, so you see something on top of the house, right? And if you are in a rural area, then you maybe be able to build something like this in your backyard. All right, so basically what they do is they put a lot of palm leaves and bigger leaves things on top of there and build a small tent. All right, and what are they doing for this? Okay, traditionally they were saying, oh, we are remembering the days that we are in the wilderness. How many days they were in the wilderness? I mean, the Israelite people. 40 years, right? Is there something good to remember about the 40 years? God tell them to celebrate. Out of the 7th feast, okay, God says that this is the one feast I want you to celebrate. And the whole world will celebrate also. But what's the whole purpose of celebrating the 40 years in the desert, in the wilderness? If you really read the Bible, you really think about it. Those 40 years, what the Israeli people mostly do? They complain. And then how many of them, like out of the 2.5 million people, or actually I shouldn't say that, okay, out of 2.5 million, there were 600,000 men, okay? 600,000 men, when they exit Egypt, they were counted. And how many of those 600,000 people enter into the promised land? 2. Okay, very good. Only 2 people. Who are they? Caleb and Joshua, right? Even Moses didn't get to go in. So what's the thing about this 40 years of wilderness and living in a tent to celebrate about? What is it? I mean, we know that, there are 3 different feasts. I mean, major feasts, right? The first one is the Passover, right? That's when, that's when Jesus died for us, right? Even though the Israel people doesn't know that, but we know, right? That Jesus died on the Passover. And then when the Shavuot, that's the Pentecost come, what happened? In the Old Testament, all they know is that's the day the law is given. And then on that day given, what happened? 3,000 people died. Why? Because they were worshiping the idols, right? And God get angry. And Moses shattered all the tablets, right? And so 3,000 people died. But for us, we are celebrating the coming of the Holy Spirit, right? And 3,000 people got saved in that one day. Isn't that amazing? So it's worth celebrating. But now when it comes to the Feast of Tabernacle, living in a tent, and we don't have that experience, do you? Do you have the experience of living in the wilderness? Like the Israelites and your parents or your ancestors? We don't have that. So we really don't know how to relate to that, right? So are we supposed to celebrate this too? Okay, is this a feast that only the Jewish people celebrate because they have that experience? We don't have that. But you know something? The Bible actually say we all need to celebrate. Okay, and I want you to I want you to see a verse first. Okay, this verse. Let me see. Sorry, I want to jump to a verse that talk about. I didn't put it in here. Okay, this is a verse in the Zechariah, book of Zechariah. Bear with me here. In the Zechariah 14. And I want you to see what the Bible says. Okay, at the end time, okay, this is probably going to happen very soon. All right, and the reason I become a Christian is because when I read the Bible prophecy, and I know this is going to happen, all right, nations will surround Jerusalem and invade Israel. All the nations in the world, okay, they're going to invade Israel. But God is going to intervene. And then God will triumph, and Israel, they will win. They will kill, all the enemy will be killed. There will be a plague coming. But basically what happened is, the Bible says, let's read the 16 and 17 together, all right? Then everyone who survives of all the nations that have come against Jerusalem shall go up year after year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Booths. That's tonight, okay? Start, okay? And it will be starting for 8 days, all right? And then 17, and if any of the families of the earth do not go up to Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, there will be no rain on them. Okay? So any nation that if you don't go up to celebrate the Feast of Booths or the Feast of Tabernacle with the Israel people, then God says, I'm not going to give you rain. All right? So out of the 7 feasts, I don't know how about the other. Are we going to keep them in the millennium? I believe this is at the millennium when Jesus comes. All right? At least this one, the Bible openly said you have to keep it, and the whole world will observe it. That's how significant this feast is. Did you get that? Okay, so let's go back to my PowerPoint. So we see this. This is what happened in the wilderness in the 40 years that when they exit Egypt. And and God says that I want you to remember and I want you to celebrate, because there are like pillars at night, right? Fire pillars. And then in the daytime, there are clouds covering you. Why? How many of you have been to a desert? Have you seen a real desert? How many of you? Some of you? Okay. Is it hot in the daytime? Super hot. Is it cold at night? It's like as soon as the sun goes down, it starts to get very cold, right? It's not like the ocean, which can keep the temperature, right? When you're on the seashore, it's like, wow, you can adjust the temperature. When you are in the desert, there's no adjustment. It's hot, it's very hot. Like if you go to Las Vegas, 115, right? Okay, yeah. And the Death Valley, right, in California, hottest place, right? Now, but God, how do you take 2.5 million people into the desert and live there for 40 years? How do you do that? Well, God is good. All right? Tell your neighbor, God is good. Do you believe that? If he can keep 2.5 million people alive, all right, provide them with water when they need it, and then in the night, they are pillar of fire. You know what? That give them warmth. They are kept warm in the night. And then in the daytime, there are clouds just over them. The pillar, the pillar of fire become a cloud and cover the whole camp. And covering the whole camp. That's God's love for them. And so God says that I want you to celebrate this day so that they can remember. Remember what? Okay? So let's read this together. All right? Leviticus 23:43. That your generations may know that I made the people Israel dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Okay. The Feast of Tabernacle. Actually, God says, I'm not actually asking you to remember just the 40 years of the hardship. There's something specific I want you to remember. To remember what? When I brought them out of the land of Egypt. When I brought them out. That day, that specific day when they come out of Egypt. What happened on that day? Do you remember? Let me show you this. What happened on that day? On that day, when God sent the 10 plagues over Egypt, right? You remember? Some of you remember some of the plagues. What are they? The Nile turned into red, right? Bloody, right? And then there are like flies, there are frogs, there are boils, and all kind of things. And the last one is what? The firstborn all got killed, right? All the firstborn got killed. And then Moses said, let my people go. God says, let my people go. And what did they do? And they asked for the Egyptian household, said, give me the silver and give me the gold. I've been serving you for many generations. This is at least how you owe me, and you should give it to me before I go. So the Bible says what they do. They plundered the Egyptians. They take all the gold and silver of a very wealthy country, and they take all that. But you know something? I was thinking, with all the gold and silver, and I go into the desert, what do I do with them? You don't get to buy things with your gold and silver in the desert, right? But, they know that God is blessing them. All right? And then the very interesting thing is the verse 37. They say the people of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkot. Sukkot is not just a tent that we think we know. It's a location, it's a place. It's a city. And then about 600,000 of them. Okay, it's just the men is 600,000. So with a man and a woman, it's about 2.5 million people. Okay, and then they exit. And then the verse 39 says that, when they bake the unleavened cakes or bread, okay, it means that they don't have time to put in the leaven and let it, how do you say the word? Rice. Okay, thank you. And become a bread, right? It just become like a very hard piece of like a crackers, right? So it's not that tasty, right? When it's not rice, right? Yeah. And because why? Because they don't have time. Okay, it was not leavened because they thrust out of Egypt and they could not wait, nor had they prepared any provision for themselves. Wow. Have you ever had that kind of experience? I know a lot of people nowadays, they got evicted from their home. Do you know that word, evicted? They get pushed out of the home without even time to prepare. Isn't that a scary moment? Some of you may have gone through that, okay? Maybe your parents or something, they have to move very quickly because of a job or something. You don't even have time to prepare. When I was in Texas, when God called me out here, and I was like, wow. And I have to ask my wife to sell the house and everything. But God provides, okay? And So that is the thing that God says, that I want you to remember that day, that when you come out without provision, when you are so fearful, when nothing is prepared, okay? And then at that time, and then they leave, and it was how many years? How many years they lived in Egypt? 430 years. And there is a supernatural thing here, okay? What is it? Let's read that. At the end of the 430 years, on that very day, on that exact day, what day? You know, at the end of the 40 years, okay, God says, come out of there. And then immediately they come out. Okay, and God says, I want you to remember. This is what the Sukkot, the Feast of Sukkot is about. I want you to remember the time that you come out. And the first place that you visit, which city is that? The city is Sukkot. The name of the city is called tent. It's called booth. What is it? Who named that place Sukkot? Anybody know? Who? Close? No? Jacob. Very good. Very good melody. Good guess. She started from Abraham. Okay. So, okay, what happened? You know what happened when Jacob, when he wanted the blessing, remember? He wanted the blessing. He wanted to be the elder son, even though he come out second, right? Only like 30 seconds later than his brother, but he can become the second son, right? So he cheated his older brother. He wanted to get the blessing, so he cheated with a bowl of red bean or something, right? And then later you also need to cheat his father, right? He put on the clothes with like sheaves and then cheat his father. His father is like couldn't see and touch and say, who is this? He said, oh, this is Esau. And father bless him, right? But after that, what he has to do? He run away for his life because his brother want to kill him, right? You steal my blessing. I'm going to kill you. So he ran away for how long? He ran away for 21 years. But you know what? When he leave, he was just totally empty, just with like not even suitcase. All right? When I come to America, I bring 2 suitcases. When Pastor Grace come to America, she bring 2 suitcases, right? But you know what? After 21 years, when he go back, he has like many sheep, okay? And he has 4 wives. He has 12 sons, right? And many servants and many countless like sheep and everything, right? But there's still a fear in his life. Do you know who's still going to kill him? Esau still want to kill him, you know? And that's why there is a story of how he wrestled with the angel and so on, right? And finally, you know, God touched him, and then he has to become lamb, right? And then he bowed down to Esau 7 times. And then Esau reconciled with him. You remember that story, right? So what after that? What after that? Then he says, Esau, go home. I will come right away. I will come. I will follow you because I have all these wives and little kids. So you go to your place and I will come. Did he go? Did he follow Esau? No, he cheated him again, right? So Esau go this way and then he go this way. And he go to this place. And where's that place? And he journeyed. So the verse 16 says, so Esau returned that day on his way to Seir, right? And he said, I will follow you. I'll follow you. Go. You go ahead. I'll follow you. But when Esau go to Seir, where does Jacob go? He go to a place, okay? So Jacob journeyed to Sukkot, all right? And then he built himself a house. So he built himself a house. Does he live in Sukkot now? Does he live in the tent? No. He built the Sukkot for what? He built the Sukkot for his livestock, okay? And therefore, the name of the place is called Sukkot. Now, and this is very interesting, that when God take the Israelite out of Egypt, the first place they go to is called Sukkot. That's where Jacob, he built the first house once he become like, he has a lot of money and houses and so. So he built a house for himself, but he built a Sukkot for the animals. But you know, thank you, yeah. And then when sorry. But when the Israelites, when they come out of Egypt, you know, they are living in a Sukkot. They are living in a tent, and they come to this place, also called Sukkot. They remembered. They remember what? They remember that just like Jacob, all right? And he goes through all these hardships, but God is abundant. God is blessing him. But the difference is that Jacob was living in a house. Only the animals live in a sukkah. But when Israelites, when they come out of Egypt, they probably they don't have much resource. So probably they build a sukkah and they stay with the animals. All the animals, everybody like come into that sukkah, And it's really hard, right? It's a hardship. But what is this about? This morning when we were in there, we were praying. And then I saw Yukai just coming in. And when I saw him, I was like, bang. I said, God says that's the message. I want you to say it. Yukai, he's actually, he's a game theorist, right? Or gamification expert, okay? And he's touring around the world right now. Many people invite him to speak at the TED and this and there and big companies. But how many, 7, 8 years ago, I remember when he first come here, he's a homeless man. He sleep in his car, And every Sunday, when I saw him come in, he's on his sandal and shorts, but he come to the very front when he worship wholeheartedly. And God says, Yukai, remember those times. That's your Sukkot days. That's your Sukkot days. God is not asking us to celebrate the time that your stock become like, what you call that? IPO, right? The day that IPO'd, and then remember that day and celebrate it. No. God says, I want you to remember the day that you trust me and you follow me. The time that you really love me. That's the thing. That's what this Sukkot really is about. What God remembered. Let's read that together. Okay, this is Jeremiah, verse 1 and 2. The word of the Lord came to Jeremiah, and he said, go and proclaim in the hearing of Jerusalem. Thus says the Lord. Let's read that together, okay? I remember the devotion of your youth, your love as a bride, how you follow me in the wilderness, in the land not sown. That very first night, when they are in Sukkot, when they are eating the unleavened bread, if you are parents, what come to your mind? What have we done? What have we done? At least when we were in Egypt, we have house to live, right? We want hot pot, we got hot pot, right? We don't want onions, we want, whatever, spices and all the food. We can still buy them. Well, I know we are slaves, but so what? We are slaves, but so what? At least we have a house, we have a cover, right? And look at us now. And we are eating this unleavened bread. And you know what? This might be our last meal because we didn't have time to prepare all the flowers or whatever seeds. And so after today, we might all die. This might be our last meal. And this is desert. We don't have enough water. What have I do? What have I done? Did I make a mistake? Who is this Moses? Who is this Jehovah God? He take us out here to kill us? What is it? If you're a parent, you naturally, you will be really fearful, right? But God says that, remember that day. The first day, the Feast of Tabernacle, the Feast of Sukkot. Okay, that night, remember that night. You're living in uncertainty. You're living in fear. But I remember. Why? God says that because that's your devotion of your youth. It's your love. You follow me like a bride. Your love as a bride. When my wife decided to marry me, I bought her a diamond ring, all right? And I have to mortgage it, or long, or like installment, right? And the payment is like $100 a month. I'm paying that, and I pay like for a year or two, okay, to pay off just that ring. Just a little, very small diamond ring. It took me like 2 years to pay it off. I don't have a job. I don't have anything at that time. And she willing to marry me, to follow me. It's very funny because the first time I take her back home when I gave her the ring, and her mom looked at the ring and says, "What is that?" I said, "That's a diamond ring." And she said, "No way." And then she showed me her ring, her necklace. It's real diamonds. Every diamond on the necklace is bigger than the ring on her fingers. All right? And yet, my wife, she is willing to follow me. And God says, I remember. I don't give you any promises. I don't give you any promises. But just like you are so devoted to me, you are even willing to follow me into the desert. And your trust of me, that will touch me. That's what touched me. I want to show you a picture. A lot of things in the Bible, it's really progressive. How many of you read the book of Numbers? Have you read it before? In the book of Numbers, right? The first thing that happened in the desert when they go in there, right? How many men? We just talked about it. 600,000, right? But God wants Moses to count them tribe by tribe. And it's really boring if you read the book of Numbers, all right? It's like Judah, okay, 170,000, and then whatever, and it's like every tribe, and they add them up. And he said, okay, now line this group of people, okay? These are 3 tribes, you go the north, and then these 3 tribes, you go the east, west, south, okay? When God said that, and they have no idea what God is doing. They have no idea. But you know what? With the advanced technology today, and we can realize what's going on. All right? When God lined them up in the desert with the 600,000, the formation is it's a cross. The formation is a cross that God wants them to walk in the desert, or when they like sitting in a tent. Like this is Sukkot, when they sit down, when they put down the tent, and it's like a cross. And right in the middle of that cross formation is the tabernacle, and that's where the pillar of fire and the pillar of clouds come to cover the whole congregation. Did you see that? Okay. For Israel people, even though they were walking in the desert, they couldn't see that. But God in heaven can see that. And God says, I am with you. That's what Emmanuel means, okay? God with man. God is with you. Don't be scared. Even though you don't know where you're going, I know. All right? Don't be scared. You think there's no water, no provision. I provide for you. There's a manna come every day. All you have to do is just pick the manna. When you have no water, and let's strike the stone, right? And the water will come out. And that's our God. He says, I'm with you always. Okay? So, okay. Here is the verse. I put it in here. So we talk about the Zechariah. Okay? Now, also I want to show you is this, what this tabernacle also mean. There's a thing called huppah. Have you seen this thing before? Huppah is when the Jewish people, when they're getting married, they have to build this small hut and cover it. And then the husband and wife, their love, their wedding is consummated, okay, under this huppah. And the wedding for Jewish people is how many days? 7 days. 7 days wedding. Just like the Feast of Tabernacle. You know, the tent is God remembering our love for him. And this is going to happen. Okay? So I'm going to ask you this. Are you a man of freedom or are you a man of bondage? We have to ask ourselves. A lot of time we think, of course I'm free. We are not slaves now, right? We are not slaves. Well, let me ask you this. Are you in bondage of your phone? Do you have to have it? Can you live without it? Let me ask you this. No? 5 years ago, you have a phone? No? But you were okay then. But how come now you cannot? Addicted. I know two people, at least in my immediate neighbor people, I know two people don't have a phone. My wife doesn't have a phone, and Pastor Grace doesn't have a phone. Who doesn't have a phone here? Okay. You know. Is that, are you free? Are you truly freedom? You know, is this true freedom of you? Or are we being, how do you say, really, conditioned into this need, right? What are the things that we truly need? I mean, this is like, this Feast of Tabernacle for the Jewish people is a good reminder for them. So they have to build a small hut and bring only the needed thing into the hut, and they live there for 7 days. I don't know if they bring their phone in there, okay, or any other iPad or other thing, you know. But everybody, like, you know, no business. It's a national holidays. They all go in there, so there's no business. You have no excuse. You should say, because you're not supposed to run business on those 7 days, all right? So what do you really need? You know, you go down to the bare minimum and see if you are truly free. All right? Are you a man of freedom or are you in a bondage, right? Like even, you know, I know some people may still have addictions, right? Like it used to be watching TV or now, you know, watching internet surfing. Are you free from those things? If like for 7 days, actually tonight is the beginning of the Feast of Tabernacle. Can you tell yourself for the next 7 days, I want to be free? Or to see if you are truly free. You know, other than the necessary, you know, business or emails and those things, I'm not going to touch the social media. You know, and I want to remove all the games from my phones or my iPad. The only game I have on my iPad right now is Verse Rain. The Bible memorization. I delete all the other games. I used to have a lot of games. Just be honest with you. Okay, I got addicted even to playing bridge game, you know, because I was playing bridge in my high school, and when somebody introduced me to that, I was like, oh, that's good. So, you know, I was playing that even when I go to the bathroom. I was sitting there playing bridge. I couldn't stand up afterward. I was so addicted. And God says, you are not a free man. You are in bondage. Do you want to be free? Let me ask you this. Are you a man of true joy or are you a man of happiness? What's true joy? And what is happiness? You know what? Happy and happen has the same root word, right? Your happy is based on what's happening outside, what you have. But what's joy? Joy is coming from within. It's your incentric, what you really, you know, you hold on to, you know, your love, right? And God's love for you and your identity. You know who you are. You are happy because you get the iPhone 7, okay? Okay? Or, you know, you're happy. You know, that's not true happy, because your happiness, if it's based on what you have, it's up and down. It's up and down, right? And whatever phone or whatever thing you have for now, you are so happy for how long? 3 days, right? Or you have a new car, right? And you're so happy for 3 days. And somebody just scratched and you were so angry, right? Right? Or even if you got a new phone and then 3 days later, another much better phone come out and say, oh, I should have waited for 3 days. I want a better one. I want the newest one. And your happiness just out of the window. How do you how do you gain the true joy? Right? Are you a man of true peace or security? What is peace and what is security? You can buy all kind of insurance, right? You can buy health insurance. Does health insurance bring you health? You can buy the best bed your money can afford. Does that buy you good sleep? No, right? Right? If you have worries in your heart, right? If you have fear, nothing can buy you really a good night's sleep, right? You know that, right? How do you have this true peace? Okay, remember that picture we just showed you, the Israelite in the desert, okay? That tabernacle in the middle, and that's the presence of God. You need the presence of God. You need the presence of God with you. That will bring you the true joy and the peace. And this is all going to happen very soon. All right? The new heaven and new earth. All right? And this is what God promised us. Okay, there will be a new holy city, the new Jerusalem. And he will wipe away all our fears. I want you to show you this. This is from Isaiah. Let's read the 4 and 5 together. Then the Lord will create over the whole side of Mount Zion and over her assemblies a cloud by day and smoke and the shining of a flaming fire by night. For over all the glory there will be a canopy. There will be a booth for shade by day from the heat, and for a refuge and a shelter from the storm and rain. And this is not talking about what happened in the desert. This is talking about the future. This is talking about the future. Okay? And God promised that we're going to experience this, every one of you, if you truly believe God. And I'm going to show you a video. Actually, I find this very interesting. A video I want to show you. It's a movie, trailer. The movie is called Minimalism. Most of you probably haven't seen that, but I want to show you this because living in the desert for 40 years is almost like a minimalist, right? You have nothing, right? But you know what? There are people today, they actually experience true joy and true freedom when they are living in the minimalism. So let's watch this. This is not even made by Christian, okay? But I want you to experience it too.
We spend so much time on the hunt, but nothing ever quite does it for us. And we get so wrapped up in the hunt that it kind of makes us miserable.
Black Friday shopping mania is still playing out tonight at malls across America.
High hopes of saving some big bucks on those holiday gifts.
In some cases, it did turn violent.
We've, as a culture, have lost our minds.
There's no question that what it means to have achieved the American dream has increased tremendously in material terms.
This is not something that just happened yesterday. This is something that has been sold to us over the past 100 years by those that want to make a whole lot of money.
Now that's what I call a good-looking car.
You have this thing that you were obsessed about, but then the new version comes out, and now you no longer care about the one you have. In fact, the one you have is a source of dissatisfaction.
People are beginning to recognize that they've maybe been tricked.
There is no out until you become aware. You're not going to get happier by consuming more.
Ready?
I was born ready. There's nothing wrong with consumption. The problem is compulsory consumption. We're tired of it. We're tired of acquiring things because that's what we're supposed to do.
When I heard about minimalism, it wasn't about just getting rid of my stuff. It was about taking control of my life and stop being told what to do and actually deciding what I wanted to do.
When I first started reducing the number of things in my life, I found out that I had 51 things in the entire world.
We've probably sold or donated at least 90% of our stuff.
As I started to move that stuff out, I was able to finally realize what I had sacrificed.
I don't know what the most common 3 words are in American homes. I don't know if it's I love you or if it's I want that.
This same thing that's not making us happy is also causing the degradation of our habitat. We're going to have to give up a lot. The secret is that a lot of that we're not actually going to miss.
What I found with minimalism is it's a way of saying, let's stop the madness.
When you recognize that this life is yours and that it is your one and only, and when that seeps directly in your bones and you recognize that this is it, everything changes.
So what they say here is, consumption, it's not just the consumption is wrong, but it's a compulsory consumption, right? And he says that, I wonder what's the most commonly say 3 words in an American family is whether I love you or is I want that, right? Many fathers, and now it's like, wow, when they open up the catalog, I want that, and the kids learn that. Right? Everything I want, I have to have it. But you know what? That actually, we're no longer free anymore. We're no longer happy. True joy. It's God wants us to set us free. He wants us to remember, what's the true meaning of the Feast of Tabernacle? Why the Jewish people, they have to build a small hut and live in there? It's not remembering the 40 years in the desert. And I'm not saying that all of you should be a minimalist and give up everything, 90% of your possession, and go into the desert. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying that every year, allocate a few days. And starting tonight, it's a perfect time. God says that I want you to remember that day, when you come out of Egypt. What is Egypt? Egypt is the land of slave. The word actually, Egypt in Hebrew is Mizraim. That word actually means slavery. The day you come out of Egypt, the day you come out of slavery, I want you to remember that. I want you to celebrate that. Because, when Jesus comes, it's not going to be like, wow, most advanced technology and everything, It's probably not going to be like what you imagine. A lot of things that we built for this world, God probably wants to say, get rid of that, get rid of that. All you need is me. This is amazing. Think about it. In the new heaven and new earth, not even the light bulbs are needed. Do you know that? We think this is essential, right? How about the sun and the moon? Is the sun and the moon the source of light? Is that essential? Right? You know what? Even the sun and the moon in the new heaven and new earth, it's not needed. Why? God himself is the light. This is just so hard to imagine. We have so much need. And God says, do you need me? The most important thing we probably forget. We forget. And God says, I want you to come back to the basic. My presence. Do you desire my presence? Do you desire me more than anything else? Can we have the worship team to come up? Tonight is the beginning of the Sukkot. Tonight. And it will last 7 days. And here is my challenge for you. Are you ready? Do you want to be a true free man? Do you want to be a true man of joy? What in your life you are still in bondage of? Do you know that? Do you want to really say, God, help me? I know I'm in bondage. And there might be some addiction in your life right now that you're still trying to fight. And ask God, God, help me. And tonight, actually tonight, before you go to sleep, go out and look at the moon. It's a sight. Tonight, it's called the supermoon. Okay, the moon will be 30% bigger than normal. Well, not just tonight, but it's progressive. But tonight is the full moon. It's a supermoon. All right, and it's 5777, right? It's really special. And this is like the first Feast of Tabernacle, the Feast of Sukkot that we are entering into. And God wants us, there are things that God wants you to get rid of. Ask God, what is it? Are you truly free? Ask God. And also invite God into your life again. Okay, invite God into your life so that you can be truly a man of freedom, a man of joy. So invite you to come to the front, and let's worship. Come to the front.
Thank you for the cross that you have carried. Thank you. Thank you that we're living in your kingdom. Jesus, you're the king upon the throne. Thank you for the way you always love me. Now I get to love you in return. Now I get to love you in this life and breathe on. This heart that